Welcome back. What's good, everybody? Carolina Keith, regular Keith, Professor Keith, just Keith. Oh, no. Keith again. Yep. You guessed it, Keith again. Good to see everybody. Tuesday, January 20th. Things continue to do what they do. And then right back down. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to change? How are you supposed to make it any different? Just notice that my camera's set up weird. Hang on. Boop. Maybe that'll be a little better. I raised it up, changed the angle a bit. Hey, whatever. I kind of like it a little bit better. It's not sticking over the edge of my monitor like it was. So I'm going to roll with it. You know, whatever. You guys don't really care to look at me anyway. This is just a point where I say, welcome to Crypto Before Dark. If you haven't done so, please go hit like. It costs absolutely nothing to hit the like button. While you're there, subscribe, because most of you who watch don't subscribe, and it's free. Last but not least, don't forget, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. That way you see a stream pop up. You don't get left behind and go, oh, well, they had a stream. Well, I didn't know. Is what it is. You know what I mean? So let's get right off into it. I'm going to raise my chair up a little bit. I'm sitting really low. Hang on. Now we're talking. Forgot that I lowered my chair. The wife came in here and did some stuff. And I lowered the chair way down because she's like 5'1". And she can't touch her feet on the ground when she sits in the office. She sits in the office chair, so hang on. There we go. Now we're up here at human height. All right, so we'll start here with good old Bitcoin. And we won't spend a ton of time talking about crypto because I got to be honest with you, fellas, it looks awful. And we kind of already thought maybe that we had started a bear market. And the more and more we look at this, the more and more that is certainly confirmed. Things are only farther down and farther more head fakes and farther more bad liquidity and farther more liquidity rips. And they aren't getting better. And when that happens, we have to be honest with it and be straightforward about it, because that's what we're all about here at this channel, being honest and being straight up. Appreciate you coming and hanging by. Charts can't lie, says I'm numb to it now. Big facts. Here's your guys' comments, by the way. There you go. Rob's How To 478 says stay in stables. Big facts. I sold the rest this morning before the market got really ugly. Started selling last night and a couple days before that. I didn't sell Apple and Tesla. We'll go over that shortly, and I'll kind of explain why. And now that we're going to have tokenized on-chain assets, kind of lets you know that may be where things are going, right? Into Bitcoin, Ethereum, a couple more, and then just on-chain assets. That's kind of how I see it. We'll see how things change over the next little bit. But first, I just shocked myself. Let's get in on crypto here. I'll start with Bitcoin and continue on looking at what we've been looking at. All these shorts that we have piled up top here have created a ton of liquidity. But again, like I warned you on last stream, and I'll pull up another example of it here so we can see it. Pull up a liquidation map for everybody. All right, here is a liquidation map. And if you don't know what a liquidation map is, I'll explain. Drop those off. There we go. Liquidation map shows you where all the heavy orders of shorts and of longs come in. And when I say heavy orders, I mean not only heavy amounts of an asset, but also heavy leverage that comes along with it. It shows us where they enter and where they exit. All right. So what we've noticed over the last couple days is more and more and more, these heavy shorts are starting to pile back in over here where they were gone before. We noticed that we didn't have very much big spikes in orange and yellow, which are the heavy leverage shorts. They had all kind of tamed themselves out. But over the last week and some change, these have all started to bump their leverage back up now and put the risk back on where they had started to come risk off before. And there was only a little bit that had spiked above the curve here. And now you see there are many more spiked above the curve. But the problem with that is, look over here to the left, and we still have many, many longs that could be nuked all the way back to 85,000 flat, where there's a lot of longs sitting, waiting to get punched in the face. They just didn't have enough mustard to really get over the hill. We drop it down to 7-day, which is only a week at a time. There are hardly any longs left to take out. And look at all these shorts that have piled in the last week here. Way more shorts than longs. Again, these could be a target, but right now, what we'll see in the charts, I'm going to get done looking at this. We'll do the 1 day right here is still trending down. Again, here's some more longs that are still left to be taken out to about 87.5 on the 1 day. If we go all the way down to the 1 day charts. So between now and 85,000, a lot more liquidity still left to be taken. Sucks, is what it is. And we go look at the charts again. We're still technically above the trend line. We got to call it like it is. You can see the trend line right here. You're still above it for the time being, and so far you've came down and given it a smooch. You're still above your downtrend line, which is over here. For what it is, we have to call it straight. It's still above that and still above this very, very, very narrow uptrend line. And we still never came up here to hit the big liquidity up here that sits up high between 104 and 106,000. Also, we know the weekly 50 moving average is up there at about 105. Never even came close to it. In fact, when we flip it over here to the weekly in a second, you'll see that it's even worse with the bearish engulfing. But first note, even after we nuked those shorts the other day and they got wasted, they come piling right back in at the top of this lower high right here on the chart that I just showed you, where all the extra liquidity has come in. That's where they came in at, right where they left off before. Kind of showed they were waiting to kind of set a trap, and that's exactly what happened. A nice bull trap. And you got yoked to the tune of 6 days straight red now. Bang, bang, bang in a row. Just shot you right back down from whence you came. Tough going. If you look at moving averages, you don't have any good help here. You failed them all. After rejecting the 100 moving average, you've done nothing but fail back down through. And now it's into the 50-day moving average. Very, very gnarly stuff, right? Ichimoku cloud, you're still at the bottom of it. That's your only lasting hope here. But you were above the Ichimoku cloud before this. You've only failed back to it. Tough going. Really, really tough going. Now, flip it out to the weekly here, and you'll see even worse. We'll go to the index pair. We'll flip it to the weekly. You can clearly see a head and shoulders forming up here. Here's your left shoulder. Here's the head of the shoulder, head and shoulders, and here's the right shoulder forming. How long is that going to take? Well, up to you to decide on that one. It could be now, and it could be a couple months. I've said before that it looks like, what's up, bro? Good to see you, brother. It looks like we're in a downtrend, clearly. It looks like we're in a bear market. And if that's the case, we're going to see this head and shoulders continue to play out here. This will become our neckline right at about 80,000. Okay. We're going to chop along here, maybe a little bit more up, but not much. And then back down to test this neckline. Once you test this neckline, you're likely to go under and give it a back test. And once you come up underneath with that back test, you're likely going to get one more push down. And I believe that's going to happen sometime around the summer. I think we may see rate cuts start to roll in late in the summer or in the middle of the summer. Once the new administration puts who they want in the Fed, let it be known that they also put the original person in there that's in the Fed in there to begin with. Once that person's out and they put the new person in, we're pretty sure that person's going to cut rates down, seeing as how inflation is stagnated and everything that you heard about inflation being bad. Oh no, it's tariffs and it's all been horse shit and lies. Inflation actually went down. So we're likely to see them cut rates more throughout the middle of the year into quarter two to the middle of the year. So I think we're going to get a head and shoulders form out here and likely roll over. That being said, look at that bearish engulfing. And what is a bearish engulfing? Well, that's when the candle after a good candle goes exactly in the opposite direction at least 75%. And as you see, this is a 100% fill so far on this bearish engulfing with only 2 days expired in the week. Very, very ugly stuff. Now, this thing obviously could flip the other way, but if it closes here by the end of the week, that is a horrible candle. Here's your 8 EMA and 21 EMA. As you see, you're failing them. After being over, you're going right back under. Damn, right? Sucks. I know. But 50 moving average way up there at 101.2. I said 105 earlier. I was incorrect. It's 101.2. You haven't even come close to that yet. And like I said, as far as your liquidations go, there are some more up there to be taken. At least 100,000. So if it doesn't reverse now, it might not for a good while. sad as that seems, it is what it is. I think that's likely to play out. Your support back to your previous breakout high in 2024 is about 72,500. That seems likely to get hit at some point here in the not too distant future, perhaps sometime along the timeline of 2026. We could see this, and I'm going to give you a couple scenarios here. All right, I'm going to stop this part of the recording and start the next one. All right, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. I'm going to give you a couple scenarios here of how I think this plays out for 2026. Our head and shoulders forms out. All right, there's your neckline. You're going to run up and finish this shoulder, come down to your neckline, likely test this neckline. All right, somewhere around in there's our neckline. You can call it a little lower than that if you want. It doesn't matter. Somewhere near this red box down here will be our neckline. We're likely to come down here and give this a test. The question is, do we hold that? If we hold that, great. This head and shoulders could continue to go and invalidate by getting over the previous high on the right shoulder. That's how you invalidate a head and shoulders. You get over the previous lower high. We haven't done that. Haven't even come close to that. In fact, we're only forming it now. All right. So down to the head and shoulders, neckline of around 74,000. Big question is, does this hold or not? And if it doesn't hold, we go under this and back test the bottom of it. That's our second drop of the head and shoulders. All right. That would back test the bottom side of the neckline and give us one more push down through the end of the year in 2026, somewhere around October or November, finding the low over here. I'm not exactly sure where that would happen at yet, but that would be the first example. The next example is it doesn't go down that far. She forms out, stops at the neckline, drops down to about 70,000, tries to get up and can't, fails once more, and stalls out around 70,000 again before the end of the year comes in and finds us a bottom. Now, how would we be able to figure out where this things may or may not lie? Well, we go back and pull fibs on this from the beginning of the bull run to the end of the bull run. And it really only happened for Bitcoin and a few assets, which is good. We're looking at Bitcoin now. So let's pull a fib on this and go all the way from the bottom to the top. Right there, you can kind of see that we failed trend and we've back tested it. Es no bueno. This current fib set runs out right over here in July. Like I said, sometime in the summer, which makes me think, hey, there's a possibility here that this thing stalls out in the summer, can't go down as much, seeing as how we didn't have a good as bull run. We could also have a weak bear market. Bear with me on that. That's possible. Now, not probable, possible. What's up, Brian Coburn? Let's see if that happens or not. I'm of the opinion that I expect the worst. That's just how I am. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't end up being that bad. The other scenario here is I'm going to flip this to linear mode and fix these fibs a little bit. The other scenario is, again, end of the years when these fibs run out, this thing drops down and finds our head and shoulders lines around the 50 fib at 76,000 to 70,000. Any farther than that, you cut down in here to the big support that's left over roughly in the golden pocket between 65 and 50,000. That's the worst downside I see right now. All right. If we flip it back to log mode, which is where I tend to go for the higher time frames, I tend to believe the log mode a little bit more. You can kind of see that lines out a little bit better when you go to a higher time frame. Your 382 is at about 56,000. Gosh, the 50 fib is at about 44,000. I guess those are possible, but we do need to realize we've got old support back here from the previous all-time high, and all that's piled up around 56 to 50,000. I don't think we would go too much farther past that. I guess it is possible, but there's less probable and more possible at that point. It's probable that 77 to 75 gets hit. That's, again, probable. It's possible we go down lower than that to 56 to 50, maybe even 45,000. I don't think that's a guarantee. In fact, I think that's way too bombastic to talk about at the moment. But, again, it needs to be said. So here is your moving averages. The weekly 200 moving average is at about 58,000 right now, but that'll slowly go up and to the right as this bear market continues to play out. We are still above the weekly 100 moving average, so it could bounce here. Again, that's what could be forming up our right side shoulder. We come up and hit that 50 moving average and then come right back down and fail it, then blow through that 100. Then we'll be looking for the 200 moving average on the back side over here, somewhere around that 382 at 56, 55-ish thousand. We'll be able to dial that in a little closer as we approach it. And again, I think that'll be either summer or end of the year. That's how I see it, is what it is, right? Is it smart to throw a bunch of money in this and try to catch the perfect spot? You guys be your judge of that on your own. I'm not a financial advisor. I want you to do your own thing. That's the point in coming on here and doing this, is I want everybody to have their own opinion and come up with their own ideas. What's up, Crypto Big D? Good to see you, brother. Matoshi, what's up, my guy? If you're over on Rumble, shout out to the guys watching over on Rumble. I appreciate it. Alternative viewing platform. We're on X, YouTube, and Rumble at the same time. Let's keep an eye on it. Again, I think this at least gets to 75, and then we'll go from there. That doesn't mean anything for the next bull run. I'm specifically talking about how far this bear market's likely to go. Summertime, end of the year, we reassess. That being said, let's look at a couple altcoins, and then I'm going to go over stocks and bonds and equities and stuff like that, because it's really no sense in looking through a bunch of altcoins that are just going to fail and make new lows. And I know that upsets people, but it is what it is. It's the truth, right? I'm bound by the truth. I can't stand the BS. I can't stand the hopium. Y'all know that. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you'll understand what I'm saying. So let's do ETH first. Log linear doesn't necessarily matter. If I flip it to log or linear, it's still a failed trend no matter which way we go about this here. Liquidity just absolutely getting ate up. If you throw on your moving averages, you'll see you hit the 100 and you failed everything all at once. Now it's likely that we back test that 50 moving average that we just rapidly failed. See that right there, that 50 moving average? It's likely that we back test this at some point. That means the price would come back up to it and then think about it and then fail more, which is kind of the way I see this playing out. That being said, if we're going to go up to 101 or 102 on Bitcoin, it's likely that Ethereum falls along with it. Problem is you're a bit hung up by the 200 moving average, which is going to slowly start to teeter over like that. And the price is going to slowly start to come back up like that. And it's likely you hit a head again and just fail more, which is why I say it's likely that we're forming up to be a big gnarly bear market for the remainder of the year, at least for the next 6 months, right? You're going to see some really, really gnarly oversold conditions. You'll think that it's going to come back, but you won't have any volume to really push the needle, and you'll continue to see ugliness. And things are only going to come up a little bit and then go down a lot, and then come up a little bit and then go down a lot. It'll continue to repeat that. You'll think, oh, yeah, no, it's just lower highs over and over and over and over again. The market continuing to batter it down. As far as the Ichimoku cloud goes, you're failing everything on the Ichimoku cloud except the green cloud on the end. You're 3 out of 4 red already. You're likely to be 4 out of 4 by the end of the week. Pivots, you're failing that as well. Not great. Didn't mean to draw that green line right there. Here's your RSI. Again, never got to overbought. Stuck in the median. You very rapidly fell off. You have lost your bullish convergence. Now you have bearish convergence. Price dropping with strength dropping. Not great. MACD went good for a couple of days, and now it's rolling back over, pointing back down. We'll see how long the red volume lasts. But ETH is not in a great spot either. I've already sold mine for profit. I did pretty well on ETH. I don't think it's just magically going to get better either. Again, it can get gnarly here. If we flip it out to the weekly, same bearish engulfing. Just as a rudimentary ability to look at the chart and see where the support and resistance is, 2,000 ETH, and then reassess. It looks like 2,000 is going to happen, and then we go from there. It could be worse than that. We'll stop at 2,000 and be like, all right, 2,000, and then we'll sort of rethink things as we go, because it's silly to go too far out as far as crypto projections go. You guys all know that. You get too cute on crypto projections, you're just going to go down a rabbit hole you'll never get out of. All right. Now we'll hit XRP and Solana after this and be done with altcoins. I warned you that we were having a new low come in. I wrote it right there, low 0. And here it comes, making a new low. Now, is it possible that we bounce up and go to this trend line again? Absolutely it is. Is that anything bullish? No, it just makes another lower high. Doesn't it? That's right. I know. Sucks, doesn't it? I wish it was better. It ain't. But I got to keep it real with you, and that's all there is to it. It's got a lot of traffic just to get through that, because now she's failed the 100, the 50, the 8, the 21, all of them, all at once. Fail, 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 fail. No new all-time high. No $4 to $5. No $6. No $8 to $10. No $10 to $16. No $16 to $32. No $100. No on-demand liquidity. No Swift financial system reset. No switch being flipped. No flywheel effect. No nostro vostro. No special wallets. No government contracts. No fancy government use case. Stop it. Just down. And sideways. With a little bit up, but mostly down and sideways. Just got to keep it real. It's the problem with crypto is you don't have enough people keeping it real. It's all hopium, and I hate that stuff. You went overbought, you failed back down miserably, you haven't caught anything left. You're probably going to get this down in sideways condition here for a little bit more. Again, I think you may run up here and test this trend line again, but that's just a bearish back test. All your indicators are failing, your Ichimoku cloud's failing, your pivots are failing, moving averages are failing. Yeah. You threw a wick yesterday, and that was about the best thing that it did. And now it's chasing that wick. So could maintain the low here. That would be decent, which would show us a chance for this thing to bounce again. But aside from that, it's gnarliness for XRP. Sorry. I get a lot of hate for doing that right there. What I just, he said 589. It's all nostro vostro. Matoshi gets it. Crypto Big D said 589. Exactly, dude. Maybe 0.589 cents. What's up, DeFi Dave? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, and it's not to hate on XRP. That's how I got my start in this. And all you're going to go is, you just hate our XRP. Nah, not the case at all. I don't care any one way or the other. All right, Solana. So problem here with Solana is it did the same thing as everybody else did and run up a little bit, just enough to head fake you. It jumped over the 8, 21, and 50 moving average for several days and then rolled back over. I was lucky enough to grab some profits on this by selling most of it and then sold the rest before the thing really started to kick off this morning and went down. Let me get something to drink. But now we're forming up a lower high and likely another lower low here. So be mindful of that. If it does try to come back in the other direction, again, we're capped off by the 200 moving average up at about 172 to 170. That'll play hell. I don't have anything else other good to say about it for now. It is trying to hold the bottom of the cloud. I guess that's good, but that's not really that good. You know what? This thing just updated. Let me change my lag line to a white color because that's the way I like it. Save as default. There we go. That's better. Lag line there is still above the candles. That's good, but not great because you're downtrending really, really rapidly. This thing's going to start to check off red X's real quick on the Ichimoku cloud. Your RSI never went overbought and immediately failed. Your MACD has turned from what was decent to awful. So it's just the way it is, man. Just the way it is. If you want to play with altcoins, you're playing with fire at best. I hate it. It is what it is. And it could get way worse for Solana on the weekly. We'll talk about that as we get there. I don't think it's worth poking the bull right now. So I tried to record this last stream, and for whatever reason, my computer didn't. What do you call it when the files don't do right? Corrupted the files. There you go. When I tried to record it, it said this format not available. I'm like, what format? I didn't change anything. Anyway, let's go through some stocks, bonds, and equities here because you're going to notice they don't look way better. They've slowed down as well. The entire market taking a little bit of a step back here. Tesla. So you failed the Ichimoku cloud. You failed the 821, 50, and 100 moving averages. It's done this before and then bounced back pretty rapidly. So for now, she's a no. If you're a DCAer and you have the money, well, this is your opportunity to buy in lower and gather up shares, which is what my plan is. She is currently 17% down from the all-time high. If that's the case, well, I get a 17% discount because I still think this thing goes to all-time high and towards $600 at some point up here to where my green box is. I think it's only a matter of time before that happens. If that's the case, well, from 400 to 600 is 50%. And if this thing gets back down to $400, I'm buying some more and taking my 50% gains. And my hope is that it does that throughout the rest of the year, and I can take those gains and roll them back over into crypto. As you guys know, they are bringing traditional assets to on-chain, and if that's the case, you're going to have more availability and more liquidity to buy things like everything I'm going to go through here: Tesla, Google, Apple, Bank of America, Amazon. You know, this kind of stuff will be able to be bought on exchanges using crypto, using stable coins or Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever you like. If that's the case, well, this may be where things go. That's what I was mentioning earlier. We may see things shift this way. For now, she's a no, and she's still trending down. I do think this is going to work its way down a little bit more, and if so, again, I'm going to add shares to it. I like my odds of this thing going back up to all-time high before Bitcoin. So, Google. So you were way up high, and today you slowed down a good bit, down a little bit post-market as well. But look, you're still playing with the 821. You're still over the 50 moving average, and you just came off of a new all-time high. Some consolidation down and sideways here just makes sense. She was overbought. See it right there. This is already on chain, so I may buy some of this as well. Once I see it get a little bit more oversold, but for now, she's way up there. How about this? This is the big kicker right here. Look at Apple. Oh my goodness. From the high that it made just back at the beginning of December, Apple is down 15% from the all-time high. But what's really crazy, look at the RSI. She closed at 1798. In case you don't understand, 1798 is the is the lowest RSI that Apple has had. And I'm going to go way back here. 2016, 2013, 2010, 2008 was the last time that Apple had an RSI, relative strength index, on the daily chart that is as low as it is now. Are you kidding me? Now, it closed back then at 1703. Like I said, today's closing, we came in at 1798. The lowest closing in the last 18 years for Apple. Now, generally speaking, when your RSI is oversold, just like any store, when you've oversold something, you need to buy more to put it back on your shelves. Well, that's my thought process here. I think while we may be trending back toward this 200 moving average, we're oversold, and it's only a matter of time before this thing starts to come back up. All right? Is Apple really a bad product? Well, whether you agree with that or disagree with that, they're not going anywhere, and I think we all agree with that one. So I think there's gains to be made here. For what it's worth, the reward is becoming better than the risk. And when that happens, that's when I look to buy. So I think there's a good opportunity here. I'm going to start buying and DCAing into this. And again, this is available on chain already. So I'll use stable coins to do so rather than sit in Bitcoin or altcoins and watch them fail miserably. That's how I see it. Again, it is under a lot of moving averages and does appear to be going back to the 200 moving average. And if it gets back to 230, 235, I can DCA there and have a very, very good price on Apple. And I'm happy to do it rather than, again, sit and watch things fail. Bank of America. So it's not just crypto. Look at this. Here's Bank of America, one of the biggest banks in the world. She's failed the 821, the 50, and now today failing the 100 moving average as well after just making an all-time high a couple days ago. So again, you're not immune to it out there in the regular world either. That's a terrible looking candle. That's a shooting star or a gravestone candle. Not great. Looks like it may hover around here and head back toward this 200 moving average or the next fib line, which is around $50 flat. Amazon was doing well, ran up and hit the golden pocket on the upside, and now she's come back down again to the moving averages. Now, post-market, she is up a little bit, and I think it's likely it gets tied up in these moving averages here. This one's better than most, but even Amazon slowed down. All right? Sucks is what it is. Just got to keep it real. Interledger protocol. I forgot that one, Matoshi. My bad. Couple more here. What I found very interesting is, it just must be your thing. No, here's Yum Food Brands. If you know what Yum Food Brands is, that's KFC, Taco Bell, and a couple other things. Look at the big candle it threw today. Did everybody just stop buying tacos? No. Just is what it is. Things have slowed down across the board. She never quite got to all-time high. Now she's failed the 821. Post-market, snugged right up underneath the 21 EMA. Yum Brands having a hard time. How about auto manufacturers? Here's Ford. forward, new all-time high just a couple days ago. And since then, 7 rapid days of retreat. You failed the 821 EMA and the 50 moving average. You're back to the trend line. What you going to do? You're going to bounce here? Don't know yet. How about General Motors? Again, same situation. New all-time high, kicking ass and taking names. You failed the 821. You did catch the 50 moving average. I am inclined to think General Motors catches the wind here and hangs on and doesn't fail too much farther than this, or at least consolidate sideways. We'll see. Stellantis. If you don't know what Stellantis is, that's Dodge, Chrysler, Hemis, right? Hellcats. That's Stellantis. Look at the miserable price action since all-time high. Since hitting all-time high early in December, Stellantis has lost 23% of its market cap. Big wolf. Big wolf. It's working on scraping its lows that it created back in April. Be careful here. Could it break out and make new lows? It's fully possible. She is oversold on the daily chart. One more. I've been watching Anheuser-Busch for quite a while now. Why? Well, if you guys didn't know, Anheuser-Busch went woke. When I say they went woke, they went and hired the most woke person possible for an ad campaign. That was all the way back here in April of 2023. Price dropped off dramatically while it did recover. It really fell off. It really fell off and went all the way down to about $45 per share. Anheuser-Busch hired Shane Gillis, a non-woke comedian, to be the ad guy. Price went up 50% in the matter of 1 quarter. Wow. Now, it did slow down some and make a higher low, but since then has started to peak back up again and is back up near $70. It looks like she's going to take a swing at that previous all-time high again. We'll see if it gets broken out or not. I love the Super Bowl commercials. They make some of the funniest ones. Shane Gillis is one of my favorite comedians, so I watch it closely. I don't own any Budweiser stock or Anheuser-Busch stock, but I do keep an eye on it. You're in Sniper's Alley. Like to see it get through Sniper's Alley. That'll prove some stuff. And if you can get through Sniper's Alley, you may be able to get up to this $80 range, which would put her at a new all-time high. So there's your whole list of stocks, bonds, equities, etc. Hope you understand. It's not just crypto that's having a hard time. It's the whole shebang. And with that, thank you all for watching. That was a 35 minutes instead of our standard 30 minutes. But I wanted to get through all those stocks that I've been watching on the side. We have a whole section of that in our Discord. That's just, let's see if this close-up's messed up. I got to raise up. We have a whole section in our Discord that's just stocks, bonds, equities, etc. That we look at these kind of things all the time, not just crypto. WAP.com/team786. Join the team. It's free for the first month, and it only costs about the cost of 1/2 of a fancy coffee from Starbucks after that. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I hope things get better for the next stream, but I don't expect a ton. You guys kind of got my explanation of why I don't think a ton of great happens. We'll see. One step at a time. We always keep it real, keep it to ourselves on here. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all on the next stream. You guys know the deal. Sky's the limit. I'm out. Y'all be good, man. Peace.